We're independents.
You're one of them, all right, the count.
Thank you very much.
Anyway.
We're independent group.
Slip it down. It's this K down, Mr. Chair, slip it down.
With the government, you're voting with them every day.
Double that scale. Look, I want first of all, in Kate she is my break is the wall, though, Breen O'Donnell, Hannah Dore, August Marie, and our members and all office staff that support us in putting this motion together. And we put this together in sincerity. And we're consistent, if nothing else. We have opposed this unjust, punitive, anti-small man or woman, small family tax. It's totally discriminatory against people. And the Minister, look, I have great respect for you, but it's kind of remarks there about we were doing this, doing that, or the other. I want to ask you one question. Carwell and Tochty Galea, where are all the deputies? There was one backbencher from Fianna Fáil here. There wasn't one backbencher from Fine Gael. There wasn't one backbencher from Labour. Tron Kenny there now, but there wasn't one backbencher. And look here, Bacon Shaw. Missing in action. Missing in action, Sinn Féin. Missing in action. They're all action. God, every day here, we're here in 10 minutes' time. Sorry if I invoke the name of God, but I can't believe it. And then we have some people tell us that we should go mining for turf. Now, I don't process, or any of us don't profess to know everything, but we know that turf isn't mined and things like that. And we get lectures from people in white vans about what we should do and about LNGs and everything else. But look, that's fair enough. I want to ask the Minister, it's appalling vista. This has a sense of déjà vu for me and you. You were in the same room as I was, up on the 5th floor, and you were a proud party. You had a fine room full of deputies, ministers and senators. When we had the Minister for the Environment, John Gormley at the time, with Taoiseach Brian Cowan, and I know John, I think the Deputy Byrne was chairing it, and we gave 2 hours discussing when a breeding, excuse the language now, but when a breeding bitch would be a breeding bitch. And that was the déjà vu. That was the last time I walked out of that parliamentary room, because I knew that the whole thing was going to do that. And we're back there again. I know there's awful trouble in your party. There's worse trouble in Fine Gael because the town should nicely flipper and tell them all it's like taking the wine off of the people, take the turf off the people. Right, it's sexy kind of talk. It's nice and it's emotive and it's everything else. So the Council asked us to come back relaxed, and we didn't come back relaxed enough. But the minute we left here 2 weeks ago, there was only a rumpus about turf. But remember, you're all forgetting one thing. This measure by Emma Ryan is in the big book, the Lower. It's in the programme for government. And you're stuck to it, you're welded to it, you're welded to Falter Road, you're welded to it, and you have to honour it. And Micheál Martin said, Taoiseach Martin said, I think he was in Geneva or someplace, I don't know where he was, not in Cork anymore, or in Kerry looking at the bog. I said yesterday he must be lost in a fog, in a deep fog. And he is, but he said, look, this will be all smoothed over and he'd do whatever. There's rumours now of he doing a secret deal now with the Greens and forgetting Fine Gael. And I can't forget, you're the chair, can't comment, but the regional independents who consistently vote here, they're not independents, they're Fine Gael backbenchers. They consistently vote with every measure. But the measures that are here today are hurting the people. And you know more than anyone, you're from the Midlands, the place you're talking about just transition. It's the most unjust transition, just imposition that was ever dreamed of. So it must be some of the 36,000 NGOs that you have now, costing $5 billion a year, to come up with these lovely acronyms and lovely names and a just transition. It's the most unjust, regressive, punitive piece of legislation. Why? Because there's no alternatives, because people are frozen in their homes, because people can't go to the bog. Easter Sunday was the day, and if Easter came late, they'd be anxious about it. To hit for the bog Easter Monday morning, they always observe the Sabbath and still do most of it in Northern Ireland. And off to the bog with their flask of tea. And my God, they were sore back, and they were sore lots of places after cutting the turf for the day with the sleighing and throwing it out in the bank. Thankfully now their machines can come in and cut it and leave it out for them, but they have to go out and turn it. A family event. It was a part of our heritage, our duties, our beliefs, and what we live for. And it also sustained us, and we also had the metal spirit help each other. I remember there'd be 10 men, I often drove a tractor trailer out to Monaghan, and 10 men and the women, equal opportunities. They loaded it in bags and loaded over trailers, brought it home, had a fine feed of bacon and cabbage, and a drop for the road, and maybe a bag or two of turf for the driver of the tractor, and they gave stuff to their neighbours. So it is more important to the people of rural Ireland than wine. Wine is an elite drink, and the teacher was waxing lyrical yesterday about wine being like the berry, the berries or something. I know what he said. And then he said that the whiskey tasted more like pog. You'd know he never stood in a tough cutting position, either with a slaying or with handing it out, a wheelbarrow out across the bog. He'd know well the taste of the cold tea he'd have, and the sandwich might be gone stale, but he'd have it and he'd earn it. But that's what you all need now, is a trip back to the bog. A trip back to rural Ireland where you profess to represent. A trip into this Fermory Biogi, into the small farms, into the small industries. Take the micro industry generation, and it was the deputy across the floor pointed out. People in good faith families put up small mini turbines, put up solar panels, and they're exporting ESB now back to the grid. And it's been robbed from them because they're not getting paid for it. And there's no sign of legislation that will deal with this. So what kind of a bad taste and bad incentive is that? And there's so many other things I could say. But as I said, the NGOs have plundered this country. And you're talking about carbon tax bringing in, what last year, I have the figures here, but 500 or 670 euro, 70 million. Yes. And 126 million was spent on climate actions. So where's the other 500 odd million going? It's a con job. It's a three-card trick. And the ducking and the diving that the backbenchers are doing here. Do you know what? The Garda tobacco team could recruit a pile of them. They go down so deep, so fast, and they come up again when it suits them, when the constituency, oh, we're all against the carbon tax, we're all against the rising prices of diesel. And if they don't make the Garda tobacco team, because for other reasons, they should go into the Olympic deep dive and swimming, because I never thought about it. But there is a huge sense of déjà vu, I can sense it, where he imploded with the Green Party at the time when I said at the front gates I would stop going out at evening, I was kind of angst, and I said the next thing you try and stop is the cat chasing the mouse. And it's coming to that. It's utter folly. And he shouldn't go away for 2 weeks breaks because Minister Ryan gets these ideas. I have a personal respect for the man and have good conversations with him, but he comes up with these utopian ideas. And it's only driving a wedge between the people. I want us big people with us. It's not only big butter and the stick like the old schoolmasters had. You must bring the people with them, the carrot and stick. So we need to get a real here, and we need to get support. And we in the rural independents are consistent. We've other talk to here that will come in and out, and they're all for everything else. But they're all being indoctrinated by the army of NGOs that we have now. An army. God, we say we have no army, we haven't. We have an army of NGOs, some very good people, but 36,000 NGOs, costing $5 billion annually. Now, we had NGOs ever. When I was at Buccaloak, where women and men and the missions went all over the world and did work in third world countries and brought water schemes to water parts of Africa and God knows where, and Biafra we sold to Middle East and all the different magazines to send little aims out to them. They weren't costing $5 billion. They got nothing. They gave their life's dedication. And the Irish people, all they want now is to live out their life in a modicum of peace, not be perished in their houses, not be frightened about the thirst police that are going to come along now. Most of the police I know, they don't have squad because they don't have gather numbers, and we're picking out things that are ahead that we might have this, might have that. Oh, now we're going to have a limit of population, so we'll have to move from one village now to the next village to go into the 500 to burn the turf. Did you ever hear the like of it? The lunatics are definitely running the asylum when you hear these kind of statements coming up. It's not a plan, it's an idea, it's what they say, it was regulations, and we'll do a consultation. The people of Tipperary and West Waterford and up in North Tipperary got into Laura and places are in the bog already cutting the turf for this winter. You know that, they're close enough if you want to see them. They'll be hoping to go out and turn it in 2 weeks' time and turn it again 2 weeks after that and have it dry. And for an expert to come on to RT last week and tell the programme that we were all burning wet turf. I can tell you, one side of wet turf, a gallon of petrol wouldn't burn it. But what is the Fianna Fáil leader going to do when he goes back to his parishes like before? They always went back with the pitchforks and the lighting side of turf. I know what they do with the lighting side of turf if they have it. And it won't be up in pitchforks, it'll be someplace else. But he is scorching the people, and they're really, really hurting, and they're sick and tired of you. So Taoiseach Scotta and Oireachtas Shin, and it's time to cause an election.
Thank you, Deputy.